JT Show.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Smash JT Show, my weekly episodic adventure discussing divisive issues in the video game industry and beyond sometimes. It airs every Friday, and before I forget, hit that like button, or for some of you who might think this is a bad episode, hit the dislike button. I'm sure there will be some people that disagree with this. If you're new here, hit the subscribe, bell for notifications, all that fun jazz, and let's just press start. For this episode, we gotta talk about easy mode, and if every video game out there should have one. There are some stakes firmly planted in the ground from a lot of people out there that definitely have opposing views on this issue. Now, first off, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I did make a post the other day talking about where I stand on this. To catch all of you up that might have missed that video, basically my stance on easy mode in video games is no, there should not be an easy mode in every single game out there. I think it's ludicrous to expect developers to create games completely directed for you, up your alley, and making sure that it works for you. That's not what video games are about. It never has been. Accessibility is important, but also a sense of uniqueness and gameplay elements that make the game stand on its own right because the developer took chances, because the environment is challenging to traverse, because you have to learn how to play the game in order to successfully get through it. That's part of the gameplay of a lot of games out there. Now, this came up recently because From Software Games, their most recent game right now, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, that one, everyone's talking about why it's so hard, it needs an easy mode. The game itself is so challenging, they don't have time to learn the mechanics, they just want to play the game and have fun with it, they spend their money, and they deserve to be entertained. And I am here to tell you, anyone out there who thinks they deserve to be entertained for the money they put into a game, look, the developers are creating an experience for you. You can either learn how to play it and enjoy it the way it was meant to be played, or don't buy it. Do some research. Find out the reviews saying that it's a hard game, that it's something that you don't pick up right away, that you might need to put some time into this, and it takes some skill, some talent, some maneuverability that you might not have to be able to complete the game and enjoy the experience at the end of the day. Now, this is something that I want to talk about a lot further because it came up when I was talking on Twitter, when I posted that video, and it got a lot of views. There's been a lot of chatter from it, and a specific conversation that I had with Mark B. Writing, a dude who I'm familiar with because I've been on the GVN podcast, a very good podcast, which I'm going to talk about later in this episode. But the reason why I talk about Mark is because we went back and forth about this. Now, he brought up that games should have an easy mode, they should be accessible to all audiences, and that people with disabilities should be able to enjoy the experience just as much as somebody out there who does not have a disability. And to that I say, yeah, I don't argue that. I'm not disagreeing with disabilities and being able to play games and enjoy them, but the problem I have with that is that's kind of a different argument. That's more of an accessibility issue. It's not more of a easy mode versus hard mode, and it's kind of a different topic. It's kind of moving the goalposts from the original argument of should games have an easy mode. Should they have an accessibility mode? That would be great. That would be fantastic. Requiring developers to make an accessibility mode on every game might be a bit too extreme. But to those developers that make those modes, more power to you. I think it's a great thing, and it allows a wider audience to be able to embrace and enjoy the content you've created. But by no means should it mean that every developer should make an accessibility mode for every game that's created. That's unreasonable. Those expectations cannot be met. It's not fair to them. A lot of these are indie game titles that they don't have the budgets to put into that kind of thing, so I don't want to hold the developers to that kind of standard. The ones that do, more power to you. Like I said, they go above and beyond. But for people who are playing these games and want to enjoy them that don't have a disability, it's a very different argument. Disabilities and video games are not the same thing as should every game have an easy mode. So I don't necessarily agree with the standpoint saying every game should have an easy mode because there are people out there with disabilities. That's kind of missing the point from how I see it. As far as easy modes are concerned, it's great if a game offers it to you, but a game like Dark Souls or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, all games from Software recently, honestly, they're very challenging. Most gamers know that going into them. They shouldn't expect the developer to make a mode where it's easier for them, because that itself would change the gameplay experience from what the developer had initially intended it to be in the first place. But I asked a question on Twitter the other day, do you feel like video games are art? Now, on the surface, you hear that, that has nothing to do with this topic. But think about it. From a developer standpoint, if you create a game and somebody considers it art, as the gamer, you're going to tell the developer and influence their decisions on how they mold this art of a video game so that it fits your gameplay experience uniquely to you, as opposed to just letting them create it as art and sharing it with the world from that point. Yes, they can be influenced from the game community at large. In fact, oftentimes being influenced by gamers has helped the direction of a slew of games out there. But telling developers you want these games completely adjusted to your playstyle so that you personally enjoy it more is not only unreasonable, but it's completely ludicrous, and it loses the direction of what the game was meant to be in the first place. If you consider games art, or even if you consider some games art, then you are not allowed to say that you feel like every game should have an easy mode. Because if you consider it art, that means you should let this developer create the art that they're making and either enjoy it or don't enjoy it based off of the end result that they make. Now just think for a second, if you were to commission an artist to do a painting, a professional, someone who has done this for years, their entire life spent on painting, would you tell the artist, hey, I want you to make the trees to look like this. I want you to make this to look like this. No, you're commissioning that artist to make that painting because you trust what they can do. You know their styles and their influence and their talents, and all that's going to go together and make a beautiful painting. And the end result is their creation. That is the art. That is why you can't influence developers telling them, hey, I want an easy mode. I want this tailored especially to me, to fit my needs and my wants, and then I'll give you my hard-earned money. That's a little bit insane, especially in this day and age when there are thousands upon thousands of games releasing every single year, where this is the golden age of being a gamer, and people are still finding ways to complain about the games that are getting released, the massive AAA titles, the big ones, because they want to be popular, they want to play the games everyone's playing, and then they can't keep up with them because they're too hard, or they're too challenging for the talents that they have. Play a different game! Don't play Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. That's a hard game. Don't play Dark Souls. That's a hard game. If you suck at playing video games, either play the hard games to try and get better, or play different games until you find one you enjoy, something that isn't as challenging. Don't ask for an easy mode in these games. The games themselves are specifically tailored to create a game experience that is challenging, that punishes you, where the world itself is a scary place to be in. They don't want rainbows and butterflies and rabbits bouncing around the place. They want scariness. They want dark doom and gloom. They want you to be afraid at every turn. That is the point of these kinds of games. And if you can't hack it, get out. Don't try to play it and bitch about it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. At least that's how I feel about this issue. But I'd be very interested to hear where you guys stand on, should all games have an easy mode? This should be a very interesting discussion down in the comments, and I'm very much looking forward to what you guys have to say about this. That's where I'm going to leave that topic. Moving on to the smashing video of the week. This one's not so much a video, but it's more a series of videos. It's a podcast called GVN Live. 3 very hardcore gamers talking about gaming topics, giving their intel on it, their feelings and their stances. Robert, Jen, and Mark come together on a bi-weekly podcast Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Twitch Live, and then later uploaded to Robert's channel on YouTube. I will link both of these down below in the description, but it's something I encourage a lot of you to check out if you're looking for a fresh take with very strong opinions, especially coming from Mark. I don't necessarily always agree with him. In fact, I often don't, but I truly enjoy to hear the other side of the arguments, where people stand, why they have the stances they do, and maybe move the conversation forward in a better direction. And this podcast is one I don't miss because they give a human perspective on games in general, on video game industry news and topics that come up. They give their perspectives of it, and honestly, it's just fascinating to hear where they stand on these things.
It was listed years ago, and I still have it on there.
Yeah, okay. You still have that. Even so, that's perfect. Actually, you still have those so long as they are physically installed, right?
Yes.
Right.
If you buy a game from Stadia and it gets delisted, you don't have that because you don't have a machine where that's installed. If a game is to be delisted, you don't have a way of getting a copy of that permanently because it's not accessible to you on your platform.
That's where I'm going to leave this episode, but I want to say a special thank you to all the Patreons listed here that help support the channel on a monthly basis with their pledge. If you're interested in joining them for as little as $1 per month, I'll put the link to my Patreon right there. And for those of you who like what I do here and you still haven't done so, hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. And if you missed last week's episode, I'll put it right there. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.